although I know that occupancy is down, I now know how to treat my short-term rental differently. Last year, I was getting a certain amount of money, and now this year, fast forward like one full year, and I think we doubled our profits.
Hello, and thank you for joining us today on the Gentle Art of Crushing It show, where we focus on learning and sharing with our listeners all there is to know about how to create success in our lives. This show stands on the shoulders of giants. Our mission is to empower and inspire our listeners to create the life of their dreams whilst having a blast in the process. Let's celebrate life together. Welcome to the show.
Well, hello and welcome. Thanks for joining me. My name is Derek. I'm the host of this day's episode of The Gentle Art of Crushing It. I appreciate you being here. I am joined today by the illustrious Tanya Rooney out of the great state of Minnesota. And so, Tanya, I appreciate you being here. And so I know a little bit about you, and perhaps people know more about you or less about you. Tell us a little bit about you and what you'd like us to know.
Thanks, Derek. I'm excited to chat today. So my name is Tanya Rooney. I live in the Minnesota, I'm calling them Minnesota markets because I always think about real estate first. So I live in the St. Paul area of Minnesota. And I do short-term rentals. That's probably the thing that currently most people know about me is short-term rental stuff. And then I used to flip houses, and I did that for a few years, and then I got into short-term rentals. And then prior to that, I spent about 9 years at a large commercial real estate company doing project management. So that's at least my real estate background at the moment.
Wow. And so is it something you were just always interested in?
So funny you would ask something like that.
That's good. I try to ask the right questions. That's good.
Yeah. So it's kind of funny because me and you have a mutual friend. Her name is Amy.
Yep.
And she happens to be the person that got me into residential real estate. So a few years ago, I was still at this commercial real estate company. And it's funny because at that point, the reason it's interesting to get that question is I didn't think I was in real estate, and I was at like 7 or 8 years at this company, and it's the biggest commercial real estate company in the world. And I thought because I was shared services, like I was project management, I didn't consider myself real estate because I wasn't necessarily in the buy to sell area. Like I wasn't brokering any deals. I looked at leases all the time. I, was very heavily involved in client build-outs of when they actually redid a space or were moving into a new space. I helped them from A to Z on stuff like that. So I never thought I was in real estate. And then one day I was a little angry about my job and I told Amy about it. And she actually told me, Tanya, you'd probably make a good flipper. Maybe you should start flipping houses. So she gave me a couple of resources. I started listening to Bigger Pockets, as much free stuff as I could get, and I started making offers relatively quickly. That happened at the end of May, and I had a house by the end of August. So I just started making offers. So I definitely wouldn't think. It's really interesting to reflect back because I remember when I bought my first house and I was in college and I didn't do it right. And
a lot of us.
I have some good experiences from that too. But I never, if you told that gal that bought her first house with like a boyfriend at the time at 19 or 20 years old, that today, fast forward, I would have a small portfolio of properties and do what I do within real estate, I would not have believed you. So I didn't actually ever think about real estate as being something I wanted to do.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So you flipped houses for a while, and you liked that, didn't like that?
I did not enjoy it. Like at first I really did, and it was just because it lent a hand to project management. Like I was in project management in the corporate world, and then going over to that felt like it should be easy, but it wasn't. It didn't feel easy anyways. And I think mainly now that I reflect back, it's because it wasn't the right, it's not that I was really bad at it or really good at it. It was just is not the right move for me. Like, I don't think that lends to the strengths that I have. It lent to the strengths maybe when I was at that commercial real estate company, but it doesn't anymore because I was, in a way, I wasn't forced into anything at the commercial real estate company. I loved my job. I was really good at it. I enjoyed it. I just couldn't do everything. Like, I just couldn't do all of it anymore. I couldn't do residential real estate and I couldn't do that at the same time. So I hopped over to full-time real estate, and then I just realized, like, I was just a little too angry about things that kind of seemed silly. Like, it was like, do I need to get into a fight with my husband because I'm actually angry at my plumber? Like, that seems like really silly. So I kind of like led out of that because it just didn't feel right. And I kind of now understand. I ended up accidentally getting into short-term rentals because we were trying to sell one of the houses that we had, and we weren't getting an offer that, I thought was reasonable. So one of my buddies just said, Tanya, have you ever looked into Airbnb or making it into an Airbnb? And I told him, no, absolutely not. I've never thought of that. So he ran numbers with me, or like he hopped on a call within probably a half hour of that conversation. And we ran numbers, and he was like, I think this would be really good. It looks like you're going to make a lot of money. And, even if AirDNA is wrong, like, you're still going to make a lot of money. So we accidentally got into it, furnished everything. And that house it's had guests for 2 years now. And wow. It's like doing absolutely amazing. So we just kept adding to that portfolio. And I've realized I'm so much happier being in the short-term rental hospitality world. It's way better for my personality than it is to be in the flipping houses world. So.
Okay. So are all your short-term rentals around the Minneapolis, St. Paul area?
Yes, they are. We have a couple of, so we have 5 total houses that we own and actually rent out. Some of them, it's kind of a mix of midterm rental and short-term rental. I prefer short-term rental, but we do have one condo that we have to do midterm. And then we're in slow season. So right now it's middle of November and it's snowing out and less people want to come and hang out. There's still people that want to come and hang out in Minnesota. It's just not everybody. So we have swapped another one over to midterm rental, and then we have 3 nice size houses in St. Paul that we rent out all the time.
All right. So what's the difference for people that maybe, I know midterm rental is a phrase that's becoming more and more popular, but what would you say is the difference between those two?
Yeah, so midterm rental is 30 days plus. It's still a furnished rental, but you would be looking for nurses, corporate rentals, people that maybe had an insurance claim on their house and need a place until they're new or till their house is, fixed up, or people like it's pretty common for people to be waiting for their houses to be built these days. So you can also partner with realtors and try to get somebody like a family that they thought they were going to be in May and now it's November and they're still not in. So they need a spot because maybe they sold their house. So that's a midterm rental. And then short term is 29 days minus. So it's just a 1-day rental all the way up to 29. Anything over 30 days, I have an actual lease that people have to sign. But they're still furnished rentals. So
I have so many questions about midterm rentals, and since you're here and I'm here, I'll ask you those. Hopefully they're interesting to those listening. Yeah. So midterm rentals, I feel like, does it not give you more issues with what could go wrong as far as people, don't they get tenants' rights? And are there some risks associated with midterm rentals? Or is it just all roses and awesome?
Well, obviously everything is roses and awesome.
That's right. Everything in the real estate world is just simple and easy.
Yeah. Yep. Well, I would say there's inherent risks with anything in real estate. It doesn't matter what you're going to get into. You will always come up with somebody that will tell you, well, isn't it? And, fill in the blank. Yeah. Well, doesn't it suck to take, toilet phone calls? Doesn't it suck to have guests, trash your houses? Doesn't it suck to have people steal stuff out of your houses? All that stuff happens. It's happened to us for sure. We've had claims in our short-term rentals. We haven't had anything. Actually, this is the first time, the last couple of weeks, we had somebody come check out of our midterm rental. And that was the first time we ever had kind of a claim, and they broke a door. And it just, had a spot in it. And he told me all about it. And then he just paid to get it replaced. So yes, you would still have that. I have leases. We signed a full-on lease. It's, 7 or 10 pages long or something like that. We have extra items in our lease compared to a long-term rental. So we talk about the things that we're leaving behind. We state that it's a, fully furnished rental. So all of these things still need to be there. We take pictures in between I still call them guests because I'm a short-term rental person. So we take pictures in between guests, and we actually will list off, here's the sheets that we're leaving behind. Here's the, like, any linens. We typically have to replace those, which isn't that big of a deal. That's $30 or something to replace in between guests. And then a lot of times these people are traveling with their own stuff. We do have people take stuff, and I think they literally just don't remember that it's not theirs. We've had a couple of blankets leave, and it's just because they were really nice fuzzy blankets. Well, that's $15. That's not a big deal. And then stuff gets left behind too. We have probably more wine openers and can openers than we would ever need because people just tend to leave those behind. But midterm rentals aren't all created equal. Like, some midterm rental owners would do, we do short-term rentals. So we do, top to bottom, we stock things as best as we possibly can, whereas some people might not. So some nurses are bringing things, and some nurses are bringing less things. But inherent risks, you have them at all rentals. It doesn't matter. It's just how you protect yourself on the front end. I'm a big communicator too. So I say, hey, these are the kinds of things that are in the house. I make sure that they have to initial a lot on my lease. And it's just saying hey, you have to pay a cleaning fee before you check out. That's not with rent. This is a separate cost, and just things like that. So we just kind of walk people through. I think the more I communicate, the more I don't have questions, which is great.
Do you find that midterm rental, so I work in the hotel business, and that's what I've done all my life, and I find that the longer a guest stays with me, they can become more needy. I think, versus if they come in for a weekend and they're gone. Do you find that at all? Like your midterm rentals, do they contact you more often and have more questions? Not always complaints, but just become, they want to talk to you more.
Yeah. It's kind of surprising. There are times where we go into the short-term, the condo, because that's the one we mainly midterm rental. And it doesn't even look like anybody's been there. They, if all of a sudden there's a season change, I get questions because this one, it's got weird HVAC. So I have to tell them a little bit more about how to heat it and how to cool it. So we get questions about that, but no, it's surprisingly not needy. And I think it's because of the clientele I'm serving. A nurse gets there, we make sure that there are room darkening shades everywhere because they probably are working nights and overnights. They're just in town for a few months. So I try to say, I'll try to check in with them and say, hey, is there anything missing? I'm happy to buy stuff, to make sure that their stay is really good. And it could be because we're overstocked. We stock a short-term rental, so that means there's all the pans you need, all the dishes you need, everything's there. So I tend to not, and I have no idea if other midterm rental people have that kind of experience, because they're great. I think they're absolutely fantastic. I still make really good money on this place, almost as much as a short-term rental, and I do have less to worry about. I just need to make sure they have keys, and then I leave. So yeah.
And so. Okay, and so short-term rentals that you have, how? What's your thought? I mean, this is this episode's going to come out kind of near the end of the year. The short-term rental market has been a hot market for real estate investors the last few years. It's probably going to get a little. It's starting to. People are starting to pause. The Facebook groups are starting to chatter a bit more about occupancy and the price of things and interest rates. What are your thoughts on short-term rentals right now?
So I specifically right now I'm not buying anything, but it's mainly because I'm concentrating on some other stuff. So I'm my main concentration in my short-term rental business is how do I just work less in it and, get rid of things. But it most definitely has changed. I'm in a short-term rental mastermind. So I pay to be around people that are really, really good at hosting. It's a very host-specific group. So we're talking about hosting most of the time and not as much on the buy side. I think some people in there are just they don't consider themselves real estate investors, even though they had to have a piece of real estate to do this thing, that they're really good at. So, I've noticed a lot of questions. There's been a lot of everybody slowing down. I think now the hosts that I know and love and take the most advice from, they're leaning into how are we just making changes. So we're making changes to our listings. I made some tweaks. I've got some really good friends. My friends tell me what to tweak on my stuff, right. And all of a sudden I'm getting bookings like crazy. So it just, I think it's actually tweaking the things you already have, like making, like, if you aren't comfortable being a host anyways, you should be comfortable being a host and maybe surround yourself with awesome hosts, and then all of a sudden you'll become one. And then you start listening to them when they're talking about pricing algorithms and they're talking about, what kinds of things we can tweak inside. So although I know that occupancy is down, I now know how to treat my short-term rental differently. Last year, I was getting a certain amount of money, and now this year, fast forward like one full year, and I think we doubled our profits, and it's all because of conversations I've had with really good hosts. So I think knowing what your business needs is really, really important. And then honestly, just staying competitive. Like, you can still like shower somebody with awesome service and still get 5-star reviews. And the 5-star reviews, I mean, a lot of people use the OTA of Airbnb. That's just one of the places you can list your short-term rental, but Airbnb is the most popular. Well, then we just start doing some of the things that Airbnb wants us to do, which is communicate quickly. Like, that's how you can get into Superhost. You want to get good reviews. So you do everything in your power as the owner, as the landlord, as the property manager to do really well for your guests. Like, make sure that you don't have a crappy product, and then you'll get good reviews, and then it just kind of goes up. But I think also leaning into, like, my most important thing is when I have to look at 12 months of the house. I can't just look at, like, right now, September was our worst month this year. So looking at September, like, I can't judge everything on September. You have to judge on your 12 months, because I make really good money in the summer. That's when everything goes gangbusters for us in Minnesota. So I think it's just, realizing that you have to look at the whole entire picture, and that, yes, things are slow, but there's still seasons that are going in and out. So it's starting to recognize your actual seasons within your short-term rentals. That's really important. And then if you are buying, which I don't discourage people from buying, I'm just not, just make sure that your numbers work. And they need to work as a midterm rental, they need to work as a short-term rental, and they need to work as a long-term rental. If you're only buying it for a short-term rental, that's okay, but be careful with how saturated the market is, how good you are at the service, and making sure that you're actually going to hit your numbers, because hitting your numbers is important. It can be very, very, very stressful to not be able to get to your numbers, but also knowing you have to wait. Like, I had to have people talk me into keeping one of our rentals because I was so freaked out because I started in slow season. Well, this summer, that was the one that was occupied the most. Like, it was the most popular one we had. So it's just realizing that there is cycles within real estate. There's cycles within short-term rentals. Like, we're looking at 1 year, 2 year, 5 year. We're not looking at 1 month, 2 month, 3 months, because those numbers are really
I think that's really good. We purchased a short-term rental out in North Carolina, out on the coast, in the August of last year. And in North Carolina, you have to absorb any reservations that are already in the books. You can't cancel them. That's a state law, I guess. At least that's what I was told. And so we had some terrible reservations and cheap, and it was miserable. In about February of this year, I was ready to sell it, and I just felt like the realtor who sold it to us was a little too eager to offer to buy it from me. So I held on, and yeah, you're right. I mean, you do have to look at the whole year and not just do the emotions. So just because you piqued my curiosity, and I don't want to, I know if in case you're writing a book or a webinar or something, can you give us like one tweak that you would suggest people look at in their listings that they want to make?
Yes, actually, I'll give two. Well, I'll give two tips.
All right, it's a bonus.
So the one thing, if I could go back in time and start my short-term rentals over, I would start with a pricing tool on day one. There are some people that are adamant, like, I'm using Airbnb's pricing tool. And Airbnb is out for Airbnb. They are not out for you, whoever you are. It does not matter what you think. They can shut down your account, like, literally at the drop of a hat. I see it happen weekly. It's really, really stressful, like, being a host, seeing other hosts and that kind of strife, because you work your butt off to make that place so gorgeous, and you put in countless hours. There's always blood. There's always sweat, like blood for real. Like, when you're putting together things, you will bleed somewhere. It is ridiculous how many paper cuts you get. So like put the effort in on the front end and get a pricing algorithm tool. And the reason the tools are awesome is because they're comparing you to other houses in the area. They're comparing you to hotels. It's kind of like Uber having surge pricing. Like, it's super important after a concert. There's a reason that it's $300 to get home when normally it's only $50 to get home. It's because they're surging the price. Well, pricing tools take into consideration when all of a sudden, I actually heard this story last year or the year before, when people started going on concert tours again after the vid. Somebody decided, I think it was Iron Maiden or Metallica, decided they were going to California. They're going to a very specific town, and all of a sudden people's pricing, the pricing tool went up. I got a buddy that probably got a couple $1,000 for one night. He's normally at a couple $100, and he didn't know anything about the concert, but he could have lost thousands of dollars. And it's because what kind of person is sitting around just waiting to find out, oh, should I tweak my price up? Should I tweak it down? It's really silly. That's a waste of your time as an owner. So get a pricing tool. I use Price Labs, and I really, really love it. I used to use Wheelhouse, and that's great too. Just whatever you do, use that pricing tool. I tweak my pricing every single week so that it's kind of going up and down with the market however I need it to. But it will do a lot of it for you. So that's super important. If you're going to get into short-term rentals, don't screw yourself out of money. Happened this summer. I was like, why am I getting $800 a night? Completely forgot it was Pride Fest at the end of June. And I have a 15-bedroom, 15-person house. And there was a lot of people that wanted to stay at my house. And I would have otherwise gotten $250 to $350. So, you can double your prices pretty easily. So that's the first one. And then within your system, within your listing, I'll use Airbnb, because it's easier. So in Airbnb, the top 5 photos are the most important photos that actually come across. Some people don't know this, or they don't care about this, because I go through people's listings and I'm just like, what are you doing? So the first photo that you choose is called your hero photo, or your, I don't know. That's just what I've heard it is. I actually don't know what it's called.
That sounds good. I think we'll trademark it if it's possible, but yeah.
Yeah. So your hero photo is the most important, and it's because if you Google yourself, if you go on to Airbnb and you say St. Paul, Minnesota, McAllister, Groveland, that's the neighborhood that I'm in, and then I do my beds and baths, you're going to get a whole entire list of all your competitors, and you are going to see the first picture of all of them. You want to put it to mobile view. I keep doing this because if you have your screen like this, keep going down until you get to mobile view, because that's where most people shop for short-term rentals anyways. So go to mobile view and then actually look, is that a picture that's worth clicking on? So your first picture has to be the best thing that everybody loves about your house, either the best amenity, if you've got a hot tub and no one else has a hot tub, if you've got a game room in the basement, if you have a huge room that people can gather and it's going to give them warm, fuzzy feelings, that's the first picture that you want to lead off with, because we shop with our eyes. So make them want to touch that first picture. And then the next 4 pictures are also the most important. Don't do 4 pictures of the living room. Nobody cares just about the living room. You're trying to get them to click in further. And if they have a choice, they're either going to be judging you off of 1 photo or 5 photos. So the next 4 pictures should be the best picture of your kitchen, the best picture of the backyard, the best picture of the living room, bathroom, whatever, the 5 best things. So I find that to be the most important thing. And then a reminder, even though we are real estate first, because I'm real estate first, I'm not necessarily a host first, we're not trying to sell real estate. So please stop trying to sell the outside of your house to a guest. Guests don't care about the outside unless it's the best view ever. There are people in the Smokies that, dang, I just want to stay at that house because that view is absolutely gorgeous. I want to make sure that I get to see that sunset. Well, I'm a metro market. Right. My sunsets don't matter. I've got trees everywhere. So you want to make sure that that's your best foot forward, and stop showing people the outside of your house. Put those at the end of your listing, put a couple of them in, but people don't care. We're not trying to sell real estate. We don't care how big the rooms are. You're trying to invoke emotions through pictures. I know that's kind of a heavy ask, but that's truly what it is. So you if you are on a short-term rental site, you should be going in there, or have your wife or have your aunt or uncle, I don't care who, and say hey, can you tell me the top 5 ones you would click on, and then give me the reason. And then you'll start to see oh, it's because we aren't looking for houses. We're looking for a place to bring our family, to bring our friends, whatever it is. If there's a girls trip, like if there's a girls trip, I want there to be maybe an Instagram wall. I want there to be a spot that we can all sit around the same table. I want there to be a spot in the backyard that we can just hang out. That's the kind of stuff we're shopping for. So we should be marketing to those kinds of people, like whatever your avatar is for your guest. That was a long version,
really
but
no, thank you. Thank you for that. Let me ask you one more question that you brought up earlier. You said you're part of our short-term rental mastermind. And I think for some people, and I would have to be honest and include myself, I think there's such a danger there's such an opportunity in real estate to join lots of things that will take your money from you to teach you things. And I think there's value in it. It's taken me a long time to learn that, but I also think there's a lot of buyer beware. So what would you tell people how do you know when it's maybe why should you do it? And how do you know what's a good use of your dollars to invest to learn more?
Yeah, I've been in a handful of masterminds. That's where we met. We met in one of my masterminds. Yep. I'm a fan of actually researching a mastermind. Like, don't try not to buy off of your emotions, because that can be tough. I interviewed the first mastermind I ever joined. I interviewed them, and it's funny because they were technically interviewing me, but I interviewed 2 or 3 masterminds because I knew I was going to make an investment. I think the first time I joined a mastermind, it was probably $15,000, and I knew very specifically I wanted to be a flipper. I wanted to do more. I'd already been through one house, and I was like, if I want to make this my job and I want to get out of, my corporate real estate job, then I'm going to have to do a lot more. So I found a couple of different places or different masterminds, and then I called and interviewed them. I asked them questions about what I would get, what kinds of people were in the group. And then if they're a smart mastermind, they have a closer. So I actually got connected to another gal that was in the mastermind who's been on Bigger Pockets. Once I started talking to her, I was like, wait a minute, are you the Bigger Pockets guy? Oh my God. And that girl is so that's what sold me, is because I got to be around people like her. And that's, you're trying to elevate your mindset. You're trying to elevate the people that you're around, because you can't necessarily be around your family that just says, why would you want to take phone calls about broken toilets? And it's because there's so much money and there's not that many broken toilets, even though I swear everybody tells me there's broken toilets. So that, and then what kind of rep, I'm definitely a reputation person. So the short-term rental mastermind that I went for was because I was listening to their podcast pretty regularly. They have a really great podcast. I'm guessing I'm allowed to say it, right?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Just wanted to make sure. So it's the Thanks for Visiting podcast. It's 2 gals that are uber focused on hosting. They're focused on guest services. They have a hotel background, stuff like that. So I was listening to their podcast for a really long time. And then all of a sudden, I heard a guy that was talking about creative financing and these really cool, unique builds that he did. And I was listening to him last summer, and I literally was I texted a couple of my friends. I'm like, I'm going to join this mastermind because I'm going to figure out a way to become friends with this guy, because I really want to learn from this guy, and I just liked him. He's now a coach. It's fast forward 6 months. That's when I actually joined. He's a coach technically in the mastermind I'm part of, and I'm now friends with him. And it was very specific. I think it's important for you to figure out the things that you really want to do and who you want to emulate, and then go find those people. If you can't afford to join a mastermind, then you need to find the 2 or 3 people on Bigger Pockets or whatever, whichever friend group that you want to be a part of, right. And you need to start hanging out with them, because that's how you start elevating the things that you do. You can't hang around people that just want to drink and have fun on the weekends if you want to be a millionaire, because although you can still drink and have fun on the weekends, you still there is a different mindset of the humans from, phase to phase to phase in your life. So I find that to be the most important thing, is find those people that you want to surround yourself with. You do have to make an investment, but you also have to assume that you will make more money because of that. You need to go into that group thinking, if you're going to pay $2,000 for a mastermind, you should assume that you can make $4,000, $6,000, $8,000. You should be able, if you're utilizing that mastermind, if you're utilizing their training programs appropriately and then networking within, you should be able to double, triple, quadruple your investment every single time. Okay. It's worth the money to invest in yourself.
So you should make sure that you're getting a return on it. And do you feel like you're in a mastermind? It's more valuable for the networking than necessarily the information. Is that the key or?
Yeah, for me it is. So I'm like, but I'm a networker. Like I'm a people person through and through. Like the reason I met you is because one of us randomly said, "Hey, who wants to come and hang out in Minnesota?" And then you came to visit your dad and hung out. Yeah. So I'm a people person. Like that's where I get the most. Like being friends with that man in my group. Like I know I get better. Like he's pushed me to make offers that I never would think to make an offer like that because he pushed me to do it and he gave me the suggestion. So I personally am a people person. Some people just need the trainings and they'll just go do. I'm like I need accountability. Like I can't. Yep. I just don't do stuff if I don't have somebody I'm accountable to. Yep. So I try to tell people that I'm doing something and then they'll help me get there.
That's awesome.
So
well, that's the thing I've admired about you. You mentioned accountability, Tanya. When I've stalked you quietly, accountability is a big thing to you. So do you want to talk about kind of why how that's worked in your life and I mean how you keep yourself accountable, those types of things?
Yes. So I am kind of intense when it comes to accountability. Derek is correct. If you look on my Facebook or my Instagram, you will know that I do things really well every day. And I don't do everything very well every day, but I do some things. So 1,414 days ago, I started doing the Miracle Morning. I actually started before that, but I decided on that January 1st that I was going to just do one every day for a year. And I don't know why I decided that, but I did. And now I'm like, almost 4 or 5 years in. I don't remember what that math is, to be honest. I'm almost 4 or 5 years in. I do a Miracle Morning every day, and I say day because I do it when I'm awake. I do not do it in the morning necessarily. I'll do parts and pieces of it all day, and it's just because that's what works for me. I'm on mile 568 or something like that. So I do a mile every single day. That's another thing. I just decided one day because someone else influenced me and they said they were going to run a mile from Memorial Day to Labor Day. So I did that and I was like, well, I'm this far. Why on earth would I stop? So now I just haven't stopped. So I walk a mile, I jog a mile, I bike a mile. I don't care what it is. I do a mile a day. And then this year's challenge on May 1st, I started writing a thank you every single day. And that has been exponentially the coolest thing I've ever gotten to do because I'm on day 199 today. Tomorrow's 200. And I write a handwritten thank you note every single day to somebody that helped me that day, somebody that helped me when I was growing up, somebody that coached me, somebody that just taught me anything, or that I just had a really fun time with, like learning about their story. So I don't know why I'm really good at accountability, but I just flip this switch and I'm just like, no, I'm doing this. I make sure other people keep me accountable through social media. And that just means I post every day and I say I'm doing this thing. So now when people see me in real life, they're like, whoa, what day? Like I happen to know what day I'm on because somebody has already asked me today, which doesn't happen that often, but still. Somebody asked me what day, like what number mile I was on. So. Yeah.
That's amazing. So you're because I mean I think accountability, unless I didn't get the memo, I think accountability is something that most people struggle with. I think we have great intentions. Again, maybe everyone else has it figured out and they're just listening to this thinking but I don't. So have you? So for you to stay accountable, you have found just posting on social media, hey, I'm doing this, and then I just post it every day because I wouldn't want to go a day and not post it, and then people would know I stopped.
So I'm not always great at posting, but I do try to post because then like people I don't even know are keeping me accountable because I'll see somebody and I haven't seen them in a year and I'm like, crap, and they're asking me about it. But then the other layer that I have, so one of the masterminds that I was a part of did accountability groups. They literally, I mean, like you signed up, like that was probably one of the most valuable pieces of that $15,000 investment that I made every year was getting put into a group with other people. So when I made the comment earlier about accountability and find a couple of people, so Bigger Pockets even does this. That's actually the first way I ever found out about accountability was Bigger Pockets. They have a journal. Brandon Turner wrote this journal, and then like the first time they ever like put it out, they like actually made accountability groups. They're like, here, sign up, and then we'll just put you with some random people. Well, one of those random people I'm still friends with, and that was 4 or 5 years ago. And we talked every single week. We just put it like you get to keep yourself accountable by reaching out to other people, telling them your intentions, and saying like, hey, will you help me be accountable? The likelihood is everybody has at least one person in their life, if not 10 people in their life, that would keep them accountable. If I went up to somebody and said, hey, I'd really like to lose 20 pounds. I want accountability. I need your help. Can you just set yourself an alarm, text me every Monday at 10 a.m. and make sure I'm meal prepped for the week, or just ask me this one question. And then you're going to keep yourself accountable. Sometimes people need more. Like my husband checks in with somebody every other week about some health stuff that he's been working on. Yeah. And then I have a short-term rental group that I talk to. We actually have a daily text message, and we're just talking about business stuff, but you surround yourself with these people, and then you start keeping yourself accountable, but you're talking about the stuff that you want to be accountable for. Like if you really want to redo your website, then tell somebody you want to redo your website, and then pick a date, and then tell them to follow up with you, or whatever that looks like. So whatever your goal is, you just need to find somebody else that's already doing it, or that's just really cool with you and is like, yeah, I'll totally keep you accountable.
I think that's good. So talking about your streaks, why thank you cards? Like you just woke up one day and you found a box of thank you cards in your drawer and you're like, I need to get rid of these. Like what starts that?
So I was actually in my previous accountability groups. I have there's literally a scorecard that you do every day, every week. And I had on there that I was already writing 3 to 5 cards a week. I like to, handwritten cards are totally my jam. They're just my thing. I really enjoy doing them. And I realize how they affect people. So the thing that happened with this, I was 3 days before I was going to hit my 1-year mile. So I was kind of thinking about what should I do instead. And I sent a thank you card the week prior to a guy I used to work with at that corporate real estate company, because I had realized I was bidding out a project, and I had realized I needed to tell a couple of vendors that they didn't get the project. I find it to be very important when we bid things out. You try to bid to 2 or 3 people. Well, 2 or 3 people don't win the bid. You need to tell those people that didn't win the bid that they didn't win the bid, but you appreciate their time, and that it's okay, there's future business. Like in corporate real estate, you have to do that because you have projects happening all the time and you need those general contractors. So I brought that into my residential real estate business, and I realized a man in corporate real estate taught me that. He was very adamant, like, Tanya, you need to make this phone call. You need to let Jeff know he didn't get this project. And I'm just like, why? It's so uncomfortable. And he's like, because we have to do uncomfortable things, and because we're grown-ups, and because we're going to need Jeff to bid another project. Just because he didn't get this one doesn't mean he's not going to get the next 3. You have to do that. So I had realized how big of an impact he made on me. So I had sent him a card. I was just like, man, I just need to tell you, you changed the way I work. You literally, it was very uncomfortable for me when we were in it. I didn't always like being trained by him, but some of the lessons that he's given me, I still use, and I'm a good project manager because of it. It's all because of this one man being kind of hard on me. And so I sent him a note, and then I got a note back around that same time that I was just about getting to my mile a day, or my 365 miles, and he had said, this made my week. Thank you so much for sending this card. So then all of a sudden the ideas just started flooding, and I was like, oh my gosh, what if I could send a thank you card every single day and do it for a year? And yes, that's 365 people. I'm not going to affect everybody. I'm not going to get a message back from everybody, but what if I got almost half, or even 100 people messaged me back and just said it just hits them at a different time. Either they're really appreciative or they were having a shit week. And that kind of thing just is a really good pick-me-up. So I realized, holy crap, this would be super fun. And now, fast forward, I'm almost to 200 days. And now I'm trying to get a ton of other people to do it with me.
So how are you doing that? Tell me about that. I read a little bit I read a little bit about that. So tell me more.
Yeah, so I'm doing a thing. It's called the 30-Day Thank You Challenge. It's essentially 30 days of thank yous. You commit to writing 30 thank yous every single day. You can't batch write. You don't sit down and write 7 of them on Sunday. I find that to be BS. You actually have to sit down. You actually have to sit down and write a thank you every single day. So you're thinking about, like, you reflect at the end of the day. Sometimes you just have one in the middle of the day, sometimes in the morning, and you're just like, oh, you know what? This person really helped me today. I want to send them a thank you note. And if you can't think of anybody, then you just go to a list. And we actually provide a list of people you could be sending to. But you just start thanking people. And the effect it has, like, it's so hard to explain, but it's so exciting, because I actually got a message the other day from one of the people that took the challenge. And they're like, they just sent me a screenshot, and they're like, this is so fun. And she started getting messages back. Like, literally, people start thanking you for sending them a thank you note, but you get so much out of it, like, as the writer, thinking about, like, how did this person affect me? Like, I've started sending them to, like, childhood friends and childhood teachers and childhood parents and stuff like that. And, like, like, when you can make an effect on somebody's day, it's just so, so fun, because all of us are struggling every single day. Like, everybody has a struggle. Real estate is effing hard. Parenting is hard. Being a wife is hard. Like, I mean, literally being a walking human being that can talk is freaking hard, because we all have emotions. Some people can shut them off. That's great. But we need to start recognizing just human. Like, there's just contact. Like, I recognize you, Derek. Like, you are a human being. You have feelings. You have thoughts, all these things. So I think it's just kind of saying kudos to people, telling them you appreciate them. It just changes everything. And then writing them is way more fulfilling than actually, like, them hitting the mailbox. But then you start getting messages back, and it's just like this beautiful, really, really fun thing. So I made this giant goal a couple weeks ago with a mastermind, the same mastermind I met Derek with, that I want 1 million cards sent out by the end of next year. So 2023, December 31st, I want 1 million cards sent out within our challenge. So I've got 33,298 people to go, and that means 33,000 people have to commit to writing 30 thank yous within our challenge. And I just find people to be so much more happy and friendly when, you know, something like that hits their mailbox. And it's not just bills, because bills suck.
That's awesome. So you're looking for 33,000 people, give or take, and then to commit to doing 30 cards, one a day for 30 days.
Yeah.
Okay. And so if I want to do that, since I can't batch write them all, you took my idea away. But, like, how do we do that? What do we do?
Well, I'll give you the link in show notes. And actually, I can probably do a coupon code. I love coupon codes.
All right.
Let's do crushing. Yeah, I know. We're going to, like, I'll give this to you. But we'll do crush. We're just going to do the coupon code crushing it for $3 off.
We'll add that in there. That'd be great. Okay.
Yeah, crushing it for $3 off, which it's not a lot, but it's still, because you can actually buy just the challenge, or you can buy packs with the cards and everything. Like, we literally make it so easy for somebody to just send these out. So, and I do want to at least point out, the reason I'd say don't batch write is because you get good feelings every single day for 30 days, and it will change the way you do things, the way you think of things. It's not hard for me to think about gratitude anymore. Like, I'm a happy person anyways, but doing something like this, it just frees you. It makes you realize, like, you're not all alone. Like, none of us are all alone. We haven't been able to, I couldn't get to 36 without, like, so many freaking people making a difference in my life. So I think it's just recognizing that, and everything's going to be okay. But anyways, I'll give you, like, my Shopify you can put it in the show notes, and you can go there and reach out. Yeah.
So what else are you working on? Anything else? I mean, you don't sound like you have enough to do. So are there other projects you have going on too that we should hear about?
Because I'm a project manager and I'm a 7 on the Enneagram. It means I'm just a little bit all over. I like things. I like to throw retreats, which means it's just for real estate and business people. So we just go and hang out. We literally talk about business for a weekend. So I think if you go to my Instagram, which you can put that in your show notes too, it's Tanya Rooney MN. on Instagram. I have a link tree and you can just sign up for things like that. But I just like to hang out. Like I love masterminds and I love in-person events because right now I went from seeing people all the time in an office to now I'm an entrepreneur that's at home by myself, and I am way too much of a people person to be locked up in my house all the time. So I've kind of gotten my fulfillment through masterminds and through things like this. So I do my best to try to go to in-person events as much as I can because I need the people. Like people actually give me energy. I know there's a lot of people that are opposite and that energy gets depleted. Well, a lot of people take my energy, so that's how I get energy back up so that I can give it out to more people because that's kind of my constant run around. So that mainly it's my short-term rentals, my retreats, my thank you project is the coolest thing I'm doing right now, and then I do some commercial real estate consulting, but mainly that's local. So yeah.
Wow. How many retreats are you hoping to do How many retreats are you hoping to do next week?
I'm hoping to do 4 to 6. Like I would like to do one every other month. I'm not positive if our travel schedule is really going to allow every other month. But if I get enough people that are like, yeah, I'm totally in, I would love to hang out with people for like a long weekend. Just go and hang, and you do have to come with a couple of things. You have to be willing to be a little bit vulnerable because you got to talk about what you're awesome at and what you're really struggling with. And then you'll create some relationships that you didn't know you needed, which I love.
That's cool. So if people run into you, because I feel like we're going to see you and hear more of Tanya Rooney around things. So. What is there anything you want them to hold you accountable for? Anything else you're?
Yeah.
Anything you want them to ask you? How's it going?
Yeah. If somebody wants to come up to me and say like what day you're on, because I'll know. I should probably start keeping track of this even in my mind, but I keep track of it in a journal. That's what I'm looking at. But ask me about my thank you project because I've got 33,000 people to go, and I think I've done the math, and it's a lot of thank you cards that I'm going to have to get to people to send. So if you know anybody that does any casting for Good Morning America, I would like to be on Good Morning America to tell everybody about the thank you project.
Wow.
And then, but yeah, I literally want people to ask me about what day are you on for the thank you project and how many people do you have in your challenge, because I find it to be so important. Can you imagine 33,000 people sending out like thank you, just a thank you card? It's not even that hard. It's just like recognizing human to human, thank you for making an effect on me. Like that just, I don't know. I'll swear so many swear words of joy on that day because I'm a joyous swear word user, and I will be so
awesome.
effing excited when we hit the 1 million mark. So yeah,
that's pretty cool. No, I definitely think there's a lot. I think I'm a slight bit older than you, but it took me a long time. I think I've always known to say please and thank you because I was raised in the Midwest and we do that here. But I think gratefulness really sunk in the last couple of years, and you're right. I mean, the more when you really just stop, no matter how rough your life is, there's things to be grateful for, and it does really start to change your perspective and mindset. So I think it's awesome.
It just has to. Like it's crazy. Like how can you be mad when you're telling somebody thank you for sending this card to me because I did something really nice for somebody. Like it doesn't have to be anything rocket science. Like I've got a YouTube channel, so I'll even give people ideas. Like I'm already in 200 people. Like I can give you some ideas. So yeah, just practicing gratitude is just, it's good for everybody's soul. And I feel like we all need a little help in the soul region lately.
Well, that's great. No, I appreciate your time, Tanya. Thank you. You are by far my best guest I've ever had, and it doesn't matter. This is my first podcast and first guest, but you are by far the best I've had so far. So thank you. And awesome. I appreciate you guys listening. And there are 3 shows a week coming out on the Gentle Art of Crushing It podcast. So there's always something to be learned. And thanks very much. Have a great day.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Another episode of the Gentle Art of Crushing It. It was an amazing episode. We know we sure learned a lot, and we hope you did as well. We want to take a second and thank you so much for viewing or listening to this episode. And please just know that we only ask for one favor, and that is to make this life magnificent. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.